Okay, today we're playing a game on King's Row. We are in the Diamond SR range, and we will be playing roughly half the game as Mercy and roughly half the game as Moira. Also, we're on the console today, by the way. Consider yourself forewarned. Current team composition is Reinhardt, Diva, Widowmaker, Soldier 76, Mercy, and Lucio. So, no Zenyatta. Sad. Lucio's a close second. He does at least have sound barrier. There's that he's got going for him, but there's no Transcendence. Similarly, no Hanzo, no Zarya. How sad. Tragic indeed. So, let's just start the game. There is a question in today's email, but it would sort of spoil the ending of the game, so we'll wait until the end of the game before we talk about it. We'll probably talk about it as we go through it by proxy, but, you know, whatever. That's not how you use that word. Whatever. Or that sentence. So we're doing a lot of healing people at full health right now, which is not very productive. We've got a Soldier and a Widowmaker, two very good damage-boosting targets. Roadhog just popped out behind us, but we jumped away from him. Called it out to our team. We find out they have a Doomfist. They have a Torbjorn, by the way. They have a Torbjorn main on their team, so that's something we can look forward to. And Doomfist's over here trying to beat us up, jumping around. And, you know, basically we're playing Mercy right now. We're staying out of line of sight as much as possible. Someone's crying out Zarya's one, while she's very obviously being healed by their Mercy, which always tweaks me when people do stuff like that. So, no, we couldn't really go for the res on the Widowmaker because she died in the middle of the point. We definitely can't go for Reinhardt because he died like all the fuck way over there. Soldier's using Tac Visor, so we damage boost him as much as we can. And they have been thoroughly fended off. So we've got Valkyrie built up. That's cool. We went way high. Scary if they have a Widowmaker, but they don't, so not the end of the world. So we use Valkyrie right now, and I assume this is because we heard their Mercy Valkyrie, and we used ours in response, but it ends up not really doing too much because they don't actually commit to a team fight for a little while still. So we just sort of float around back here, and like, we're tethered to a lot of people, so that's cool. But like, this is where I'd use Valkyrie. And instead, because this is where the team fight is like very obviously going to start. Instead, our Valkyrie runs out right at this point as the team fight is actually starting. And without giving too much away, this happens. It's hard to react to Doomfist doing that, so, you know, you gotta react pretty quickly. And depending on where your teammates are, it's just not actually possible to get out of the way in time. So the only way I see that being avoided is just by saving Valkyrie slightly longer. I wouldn't have used Valkyrie right there. I'm assuming we just thought they were going to start a team fight right there. But it ended up not actually starting for a little while longer. So that ended up being unfortunate. So now we've entered one of the Moira segments. Very good hero. I prefer Moira greatly. They have a Doomfist as well. Moira's a little bit better at avoiding... Well, she's not a little bit better. She's a lot better at avoiding being killed by Doomfist. And their other DPS is Torbjorn, so we're not overly concerned about that one too much. So we've ended up really low on resource right now. We're just sort of like holding down left click on all these people who are... Or the healing beam on these, because we're on the console, so it's not a left click. But we're just sort of... Like, we're healing Reinhardt right here, that's fair enough. But now we're holding it down on people that are, like, full health, and now nobody over here is super wounded, yet we continue to hold it down on them, so we're not super efficient with the resource right there. This is the sort of situation where you consider just using a healing orb and then, like, pushing forward aggressively to try and regenerate some resource. Because we are so low on resource right now, which is scary if a team fight starts, so... We're sitting real far back right now, probably because Fade is on cooldown, and we just heard Molten Core get used, but we see his turret break. So what I do right now is I throw the healing orb into these people, seeing as they're getting hurt, and then I walk up and start draining the enemy team because the resource is so very low right now. Which button is it? There we go. Damage orb's a lot better than the healing orb, but the healing orb does have some uses, which is basically throw it while you're regenerating some resources. Or heal yourself. Didn't really need to use the healing orb right here, because we could just stand in this biotic field instead. And now, we don't have it to throw over there at them. And we also are really low on resource when the Graviton starts right now. we're also woefully close to having Coalescence, which is unfortunate. Such is life. Now, there's no guarantee we make those people survive through it regardless, because we are playing Moira, we're not playing Zenyatta. But, and as we can see, it ends up not mattering overly so, because we still end up winning the team fight. But we ended up with no healing orb and really low healing resource right as our team gets stuck in the graviton. So that could very easily go a lot worse, even though it didn't in this situation. So we've got a lot of our resource back right now. Their Reinhardt's probably really close to having Earth Shatter. So we want to be aware of that because we got Fade, so we can dodge it. Fortunately, their Reinhardt decided he didn't want to live anymore and just did that. Don't need to be holding down the healing beam on these people. No one's overly hurt. Just give them a quick spray to put the regen on them. Didn't need to hold it down for that long. Not to sound too much like a broken record, but that's a lot of Moira, is just trying to let the regen do as much as possible. Oh, we shattered. I thought I heard somebody say they shattered, and I was like, I thought Reinhardt was dead right now. No, never mind. There, Bridget has decided that she's going to waste her ultimate, which is very nice of her. She did kill, Soldier, and now she's dragging out her death. No, she actually manages to get away. How about that? Damn. So we've almost got Coalescence built up again. Very good ultimate, recharges very quickly. And yeah, now we're just waiting for them to regroup. We have quite a few ultimates, and both their healers are dead, so they won't be pushing it anytime soon. Widowmaker's getting super mega ultra dived, and she's not very happy about it. So we're using Coalescence right now. Unfortunate that we felt the need to do so, because both their healers were dead, so like ideally this wouldn't happen, because they shouldn't really be winning the fight anytime soon, but we used it regardless. I wouldn't have used it right here, just because I see in the kill feed both their healers are dead, so I'm thinking, like, they aren't gonna win this fight regardless. Then Reinhardt ends up just deciding he doesn't want to live anymore. Our Reinhardt this time, though, so that's upsetting. I wouldn't have used Coalescence right there, because we're using it on a team fight we've basically already won, and we don't exactly hit very many people with it, so it ends up not getting, like, super value. However, we are, like, halfway towards the next one. But unfortunately now we don't have Coalescence, as they've all switched to a dive comp, so like a lot of shit's happening right now. It's a really good map for Moira as well, just because of like the narrow funnel. It's very easy to hit a lot of your team and the enemy team with Coalescence. So now we have Coalescence. We've lost D.Va by this point. So the fact they have a Bridget makes it very upsetting to use Coalescence. Can we see Bridget in... Can we see Bridget in this mess of people right now? I can't fucking... There she is. I can't tell where she is prior to this. Alright, regardless. So we want to hit as many people with Coalescence as possible on both teams. So rather than backing up this way, I would that's behind my fucking cameras. Rather than backing up this way, I'd rather back up this way, because then we can fire our Coalescence down the entirety of the street and get all of their team gathered around the payload, as well as any of our team pushing into fight, which they should be doing, seeing as we're using Coalescence right now. Whereas if we back up this way, we're only really going to get Reinhardt and whoever Reinhardt happens to be fighting at the time. So if we go this way, we end up getting a better angle of people. Also, if they want to try and stop us, they have no choice but to go through the narrow alleyway to actually, like, get to us, which means they will be walking straight through the Coalescence, and they have no way around it. Coalescence is also really long range, so we can basically retreat to, like, the other end of the alley over there, and we'll still be touching people on the payload with Coalescence. So that is just a slightly better angle to use than this one right here. We get stunned by Bridget regardless, but a lot of using Coalescence is finding the ideal angle to use it on in the team fight, so that you hit as many people as possible. So the other thing is just that it's like, we've lost Soldier by this point. He was way far up. D.Va loses her mech, so we end up, we're already down 2 people, and then D.Va dies as well. So we're already down 2 people when the team fight starts, and then, it's all downhill from there. I would have used the Coalescence as well. Like, it didn't look like it was impossible to win the team fight, and then we get stunned by Bridget. Very sad, very sad. That's the one thing about playing Moira, is that it's really hard to use Coalescence with Bridget in the game now, because you know who she's going to try and stun immediately. So you have to be, like, really aware of where she is when you start using Coalescence. And so the worst part is sometimes from the, like, position you start using it in, you're like, she is gonna get to me, she's gonna stop me, because there's no way I get out of range before she stuns me. It's the worst feeling in the world. So they're gonna capture the checkpoint. We lost Reinhardt and Soldier. Soldier's super staggered. He was off in fucking Narnia's butt crack or some shit all the way over there. So who is surprised about that one? He's decided to change to Pharah. They do have a dive comp, so I guess there's that. I'd rather he change to Reaper, because, like, you seen their team comp? Reaper'd be really good against their team comp. I'd also rather that our Lucio was playing Baguette by this point, because Bridget's really good against dive comps as well. And they don't really have, like, a big ultimate that we're trying to no-sell with Transcendence, because, you know, they kind of all kill you through Transcendence, the ults they have. Like, Molten Core doesn't, but I mean, it's a sad day if we're basing our picks around Molten Core, you know? So we built up Coalescence. We really wanted to try and get that Mercy right there. But we end up having to just put it on top of Reinhardt. Did we have an orb that we could have thrown? No, orb is still on cooldown in the middle of... No, wait, is that it? No, that's Fade that's on the left. No, orb's still on cooldown. Okay. Disregard what I was going to say. So, we do manage to stall them out right at the end here. Basically because their team comp's pretty bad. So, they end up not really having much momentum left by that point. So I just want to look at their team right there. So now we see Torbjorn has changed to Reaper. Interesting choice, considering someone on our team just changed to Pharah. Granted, Pharah also counters Torbjorn, but I mean, less so than Reaper. McCree has changed to Junkrat. That's fair enough. I'd rather the Pharah was Reaper, and I'd rather Lucio was Baguette. But tragically, we cannot control what other people do. So now we change back to Mercy. Mercy is very good because we have a Pharah. We also have a Junkrat, who's a good target to damage boost. And Junkrat's really good on this map and this checkpoint in particular because of how confined it is. So Junkrat tends to get a lot of value. As does Pharah, but the unfortunate thing about the third checkpoint for Pharah is that it's a pretty confined location. And because of where the high ground is, there's actually places that, like, flankers can get to contest Pharah, even though they wouldn't normally be able to. But I mean, they've got, like, Reaper Doomfist as their 2 DPS, so, you know, at the same time. I just wish that, you know, we had a Reaper, because then there's like, fuck Winston, fuck D.Va, you know, basically. So, we've got most of Valkyrie built up. We're gonna have it for the next team fight, and the next team fight is gonna be the last one, because they've only got 20 seconds left at this point. Their Doomfist is using Meteor Strike right now, so we just immediately pop Valkyrie and float away. And here comes the self-destruct, duck out of the way. So we're gonna res Reinhardt. He's basically the best person we can res. He's got the best chance of actually stalling it out, but, oh, he's got Earth Shatter as well, so it ends up hitting a lot of people. Someone left the team on their team. This is like the perfect time for them to have a DC for us. Fortunately, we actually have a lot of ultimates to use right now. People built up their ultimates quite quick. Like, we've just used a lot. They must be like, what the fuck? Gonna have res just in time for this. They must be like, what the fuck? Even though several people just changed to their heroes, we actually all managed to build up our ults in time to fend off the push there. They did get to basically the end, but not quite to the end. So, that's good for us. So as you can see, the rest of this game is not very long. So do we wreck them, or do we get full held? Because those are the only two possibilities right now. So we're healing the Pharah at full health, which is not good. Efficiency. Damage boost as much as possible. Hard to carry as Mercy, blah blah blah. The drum I've beaten 1,000 times now. So they still have Doomfist. Doomfist's fucking dead. Pharah ends up dying. We can res her from here. She's in a safe location. We do have a Zenyatta now on our team, which is cool, but, they still don't really have an ultimate that we're looking to negate with Transcendence, so Doomfist would, not Doomfist, Bridget would still probably be better at this point, just because they don't have anything really to use Trance on, and given that they are basically running a dive comp on defense, Zenyatta's going to find it quite hard to stay alive. We are now being tased by Winston. We now have Lucio instead. Lucio is better than Zenyatta. I just really like Bridget, especially against dive comps, because she just counters so many members of a dive comp. Basically the entire dive comp, you know, basically. So, they use several ultimates, which they built up quite quickly, and then Reinhardt decides to die right as we start using Valkyrie. Pharah uses Barrage right at a very bad time, because Reinhardt just died, so we have a lot of trouble, like, especially from the position she was in. I think Reinhardt might have even been able to block for her. She's a little bit too high. She doesn't use it super well. And this is the thing as well, they have a D.Va on their team, so that's going to make it really hard for that person to play Pharah. And you might be getting a feel for what the answer to what the outcome of this game is by this point. So we're getting pushed back into our spawn, which is very, very fun. Things are going well so far. So now, take two. It's alright. Now, we did end up wasting a lot of ultimates. Widow just changed to Junkrat. Fair enough. Okay. But now we've got nothing on Earthshatter, nothing on Valkyrie, nothing on Junkrat, and only half of a barrage built up. We got 2 minutes left. So, you know, it's very unfortunate. So Lucio's using his ultimate right now along with Self-Destruct. It ends up actually getting 2 people, one of their tanks and both their healers. Incredible. Now, they're going to use their ultimates, though. We do manage to res Junkrat. They're using Molten Core, which is basically no fun allowed. And even though it looked really good, like they lost both their healers right at the start of the fight, which is conventional wisdom would tell you is a death sentence for their team, they actually managed to fend it off. So, it's really upsetting to me that all this happens. Like, look, mathematically, we can't win the game anymore by this point. So, today, the question in the email today was, why did we lose? Basically. And the way I see it is just that this particular fight was really badly coordinated and executed, because there's no reason we should have lost this team fight. So, if we go way back to the start. So, right now, we've only got 2 meh ultimates to really fight with. We've got Sound Barrier, and we've got Self-Destruct. And we chuck those in, and the mediocre ultimate ends up getting 2 kills. But they end up having ultimates to use in retaliation. The 3 people who are still alive all have their ultimates. Doomfist has his, Torbjorn has his, and their D.Va has hers. So they use all of their ultimates to fend us off. And then, by the time Pharah gets her ultimate built up, we've already lost all the momentum we got from the start of the fight originally. And as we can see, that ends up actually killing half of the remaining members of their team. So, the way I see it is, we would have won if we waited a little bit longer to use all of our ultimates. And I mean, you can argue that it might not have gone as well as it did if we waited longer, because, like, D.Va getting 2 kills with self-destruct is pretty unlikely at the best of times, but we end up staggering our ultimates, and basically we've just been dragging out this lost fight for a really long time now. Like, we lost that fight pretty early on, once Doomfist, Torbjorn, and them used their ultimates, but the fight then continued going for another 30 or so seconds past that point. Now Junkrat's using his ultimate, but nobody else has their ultimates. We're trying to save the Junkrat right now. He has to use his ultimate to kill Winston. Like, if we just used all of those ultimates at the same time, we would have almost certainly captured the checkpoint. Instead, we staggered them and kept using the ultimates like 1 and 2 at a time, rather than actually saving them all for a coordinated push. We managed to kill Molten Core immediately after he started using it, which is a rare day indeed. So I managed to get away with rezzing the Reinhardt right there, and then, unlucky. Unless you're psychic, basically. I don't see you avoiding this one, really, because we want to get away from the fight, and then Doomfist is just like, on them! Let's go. When did he use Meteor Strike, though, I guess? He used it right there. I think we were a little bit surprised that we were even alive to begin with right now, seeing as we just res right next to them. So, he uses Meteor Strike right there, and the only person actually right next to us anymore is D.Va. So we could have waited to see what Doomfist was going to do with his Meteor Strike before we used GA, and avoided that. But I'm also prepared to just say, unlucky, also. So, and then they end up managing to push us off there. Doomfist has been putting in, like, a lot of work. And they managed to fend us off in the end. Feels bad, man. Who got play of the game? Damn, 17k healing out of, like, a pretty short game is pretty good. Because it was only, like, 1 real attack round, right? Like, you know. Oh, yeah. Slam dunk. And now he's gonna punch. Oh, no. Poor Reinhardt. I've been there. Doomfist is a very annoying hero. I dislike how popular Doomfist is right now. No, this has nothing to do with the fact that I play Reinhardt. I don't know what you're talking about. So, as for why did we lose, the way I see it is just that, I think it was definitely doable. Like, I don't think the defense goes that much better. Maybe it did if we saved Valkyrie and survived the first fight a little bit longer, or the first checkpoint a little bit longer, but I don't see the defense round going that much better, honestly. I don't feel like there was much we could have done to affect the outcome of that. The attack round, I mean, I don't think it was our fault particularly, which, I mean, this is the thing with Mercy, is that this is why I don't like playing Mercy. I think that she, like, I dislike how little agency she has over the game. I much prefer playing Moira and Baguette. But the way, I think we would have won if we just coordinated our ultimates a little bit better during that one team fight, because people just kept using their ultimates 1 and 2 at a time, rather than actually saving all of their ultimates for, like, a big coordinated push. So, and I think when D.Va and Lucio used theirs, Reinhardt wasn't fully back yet, either. Let's go back a little bit. What was Reinhardt doing when that team fight started? Because he died. Was he actually, like, back yet? So it was right here. Okay, what? No, Reinhardt was back by now. Okay, never mind. Disregard. Anyway, if we save our ultimate, if we just save these ultimates to use a little bit later, because, like, just, like, nobody else is anywhere close to having their ultimates yet, right? Like, yeah, they both have their ultimates, but self-destruct and sound barrier, like, sound barrier is good for initiating a fight, and self-destruct is good for zoning and, like, also initiating a fight. But then what are we going to do once we get in the fight, right? And this guy changes to Junkrat, so he's going to be at 0. Like, what are we going to do once we're in the fight, right? like, yeah, we'll get in, but then we don't have, like, the big finishers ready to go in the fight yet, which is, you know, Earth Shatter, Tire, since he's going to change to Junkrat, and Barrage. They're nowhere close to finishing yet. Even if we just wait for, like, one of them to build up their ultimates, we might have won the fight. And I mean, you know, it happened in a parallel dimension, so we'll never know, but I think if we just waited until we had, like, even one more ultimate to use during this team fight, I think it goes a lot better than it did right here. Because it gets off to a fantastic start for only having 2, like, meh ultimates, right? But then we can't finish it out, and they have all of their ultimates ready to go. Like, imagine, like we saw later on, Farr just killed Molten Core with Barrage as soon as he used it. Imagine if that happened during this team fight, right? It would have gone so much better. So I think this is the team fight that lost us the game, just by not having a little bit more patience when we started the fight. We'll never know. It happened in a parallel dimension, but I think this is why we lost the fight. This team fight right here, and not having quite enough patience. So was there another question in here? I think that was the only one. Let me just check real quick. I don't have any specific... Did we find any issue with the way to play them? No, not really. We were not super efficient with our resources Moira this game. That kind of stood out, where we were doing a lot of holding down the healing beam on people who weren't overly injured. But no, not, and, you know, Mercy, there was some healing people at full health, that's bad, blah, blah, blah. I didn't have a hard time staying alive. Yeah, I felt like the enemy team wasn't very difficult to fight against, there wasn't that much of an issue for me. Yeah, honestly, we were very rarely pressured throughout the entire game. That much is true. Could I have changed the outcome of the game? No, I don't think so. I think this was a team play issue. It's hard for a support, especially the main healers, to really affect the outcome of the game that much. But no, I think the reason we lost this game was a coordination issue, particularly with ultimates. So, thank you very much for watching if you did. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I'm more than happy to answer. If you haven't already, you can join our Discord and ask questions more directly and have a conversation about them, or just shitpost with us. If you felt I answered your question from the email inadequately, please let me know, and I will try to expand further. And I hope you found the video helpful.